Hello. Nope, that's not working. Hey, I'm Douglas Brzezinski. I am the founder of the Buffalo Mini Maker Faire, but also an avid FIRST team coach and mentor. So today we have our panel from around New York State, 3 teams. But what I want to do first is, for every Maker Faire we have, we tend to get lots of questions of how can I get my kids interested into robotics? And I think the FIRST program does that. So I have a very quick video that I just want to share my screen here for a second. And talk about what FIRST is.
Kids can really make an impact in all different parts of the world.
I will change the world by bringing STEM jobs to developing countries.
I will provide emergency care for the less fortunate.
It's important that kids have the skills to operate in this world, and the FIRST program helps prepare them for that.
We've encountered many challenges with this, but...
So that video is not broadcasting, so we will go in. I apologize, the first time we did this, but we have 3 robotics teams with us. First of all, we have an FTC team, which is pretty much the medium level of FIRST. You start first with Legos, going to junior FLL, then FLL, the Future Lego League, and then FTC, that builds similar robots like the one behind me. So I'm going to bring forward team 18 to 18, 18 to 18 Nerds of a Feather. So let me bring you guys up. Give me 1 second. And we can put you, now you're live.
Okay, that's us.
Hi, we are FTC Team. We are FTC Team 18218, Nerds of a Feather. We are a first-year, FIRST Tech Challenge team based in Clinton, New York. We are a community team. I'm Corinna.
I'm Eli.
And I'm Maureen.
So today we're going to talk to you a bit about what it's like to start a team. We are a first-year team, but we're not complete newbies. We've all done FLL before. And I've been doing FTC for 3 years prior to this. So it does take a bunch of... Stop. I have stopped. Why have I stopped?
Doug is still screen sharing.
No one can see.
No one
So
can
you're
see.
tiny.
Yeah, are we audible? That was great. Thank you. Very kind. I talk too much. No, you don't. I also think I talk too much. You're really not. What are you doing?
Sorry, guys. We'll figure this out in a second.
You guys can talk if you want.
And we're visible. That's cool. So it takes a good amount of funds to start a team, but from it you learn a lot. So for instance, we spent between $1,500 and $2,000 to start our team. It does help a lot to get grants, to get donations, that sort of thing, which we've been focusing on, and that's really helpful because even though it's expensive, you learn a lot. So let's talk about what we've learned. Eli.
So personally, I've learned a lot more about CAD and 3D printing. Before I started doing FTC, I was in an FLL team. And in that, all we really did was build Lego robots and do the projects. But now in FTC, we also need to do a lot of CAD to plan out our robots and to document how we built them. So I've been learning a whole lot more of that since we started doing FTC.
What do you use? Which program?
We use Autodesk Inventor mostly, and that's a pretty good one for FTC.
Okay.
I was in FLL for 2 years.
Speak.
I was in FLL for 2 years before I started FTC, so I basically learned everything. I didn't know anything before, so I learned how to program, I learned how to model in CAD, I learned how to drill holes. I didn't really use power tools at all before, so that was fun.
That is really cool. So far, this is the robot we've started with. It's just a more basic one. We decided to use plywood for our base, which was an interesting material choice that will probably change. Why will we change it?
The plywood base is pretty flexible, which causes instability in the robot.
However, it is really easy to, but it is really easy to drill, so that's really useful. So it's a good base start off. We didn't want to use just the bars with cardboard because we know that has a tendency to break, and we weren't sure what else to use, so we started with plywood. But now looking back, we'll probably look into changing to some metal, or maybe reinforce this with some Tetrix bars. Oh yeah. So a lot of the parts we have, we actually didn't have to buy them all ourselves. We got some help from SUNY Polytechnic Institute. They donated to us some Rev and Tetrix parts. Really useful. It saved us a lot of, first of all, waiting for things to ship, but as well, it saved us a good hunk of money. And speaking of money, we did some fundraising.
We started a fundraiser working with Utica Coffee, one of our local coffee stores. We just filled out an online form, and they were very helpful. They let us start a fundraiser.
So we get a portion of the profit they get from selling their coffee, which is really cool.
Oh,
yeah.
We also have a GoFundMe.
Yeah, we have a GoFundMe where we have these shirts as a bonus. That is the word. May the first be with you. What else have we done?
Oh, we're looking forward to competitions this year. They're going to be all remote.
Eli?
This year, the competitions are going to be all remote, so we're looking forward to them because it'll be an interesting way to have to figure out how we're going to do it without actually being there.
It'll be a learning experience.
Yes.
Sure. Well, we get to build all of our parts out of cardboard, which is really nice. That's something I don't think FIRST has done before. So it's really, at least not for FTC. I'm sure FRC, I think, has some. But this way we didn't have to spend nearly as much on the parts, which was useful. And now we can show you our robot. It is a bit of a basic drivetrain at the moment. There we go. We're just going to do some adjusting. But this is what's called a holonomic drive robot. So that means it has 4 omni wheels. There you go. It has 4 omni wheels that are at an angle to each other. Because of the fact that omni wheels can move side to side easily, we can go sideways and forwards, and also we can do really smooth turns. There's been a bit of drifting happening, but we're working on finding solutions. For instance, slowing down is helpful. So we have slow buttons, that sort of thing. Right. Do you really have anything else?
Let's say, do we have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions for us about our robot, about maybe more about what we did to start the team, that sort of thing?
I don't see anything. They're having a panelist discussion there on the side.
So do you want to just say thank you?
Okie dokie then. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
See you later. Or
Thank
Got
you,
you.
guys.
No, exit it. Just turn
We
off
do appreciate it.
There you
All right, they've knocked us off the
go. The
screen.
main
So
screen.
Let's see here. I want to get team 7407 next. And what do I?
All right, should I just start?
Yep, sorry about that. Hopefully we're all set. FTC 7407 Vega, right?
Yeah. Hi, so I'm Arjun Sahansra. I'm one of the co-captains this year of Team 7407 Vega. I've been on the team now for 4 years, and I've really got to learn a lot, so I'm excited to share what we have with you today. So I'm just going to share my screen real quickly. I have a little presentation. Let's get that going. Can you see the screen share?
Yeah, looks good.
It's visible?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. All right, so what is First Tech Challenge? Reciting straight up from the first website. First Tech Challenge students like to learn to think like engineers. Teams design, build, and code robots to compete in an alliance format against other teams. Robots are built from a reusable platform powered by Android technology and can be coded using a variety of levels of Java-based programming. So this is, like Doug said at the beginning, this program is between FLL, which is the middle school level, and FRC. So it's meant for 8th to 12th graders, and there are at least 500 teams that we found across New York State, with teams up to 15 students.
So as Arjun mentioned before, First Tech Challenge really allows students to get into the engineering field in their high school career, but it also exposes First Tech Challenge kids to different workforce skills, mainly collaboration, teamwork, critical thinking, and problem solving. So in order to gain these workforce skills, we practice on our team, and I know many other teams in FTC, by specializing. So we have captains who are in charge of delegating tasks and assisting all team members. We have builders who are focusing on the design and build of the robot, programmers who are working more on game strategy and how the robot works. Engineering notebook, the people who work on the engineering notebook are documenting all aspects of the robot and the design process. And outreach people who are finding and preparing opportunities to connect with the community. But the cool thing about FTC and the teams is that everyone gets to play every role, because the way that we like to do is that, like, not one person is stuck doing everything. We really like to make a collaborative and fun-filled atmosphere. So now we're going to get into our season last year, and specifically the challenge that we faced last year. And Tiger will get into the robot showcase.
I thought Otis was. I thought you were doing that.
Okay, so so going into last year's game, Skystone, basically how the game worked was robots would start on one side of the field and then they would work on placing these Lego brick style blocks onto a platform, and it was based around moving these blocks around and placing them onto there. And Tiger, would you like to go into the robot, like the videos?
Want me to just play them?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So this one is going to demonstrate an actual match that we had from one of our competitions. This is going to show the autonomous portion where the robot drives itself completely based on the code that was already written. So our robot is the one in the back here. Oops, skipped a slide. All right, so that kind of showed our autonomous period. And then here you can see our robot doing the other portion of the game, which is when two drivers will control the robot. And the whole portion was to get the blocks onto the platform here. So this was sort of a prototype of a robot before we got our final design. This one had a bit of a different grabbing mechanism. Okay.
All right.
So you want to take over the screen share, Laszlo?
Sure. Hi, I'm Laszlo, and I was doing a lot of the CADing for Team Vega over the last 3 years. So I help a lot in prototyping the robot and 3D printing stuff, like optimizing parts so they can be 3D printed. So this is last year's robot, and all the blue pieces here are 3D printed, and they allow for the like adjustability of this plate so we can get it perfectly lined up with the block. And also these phone holder and battery holder in the back are 3D printed. So the construction of the robot in CAD really helped with us being able to see how we're going to build it in the future, and also include like good screenshots in our documentation in EN. For this year, I have also started CADing the robot, and we have a prototype for that, where we have a sponsorship where we can have aluminum CNC'd for us. So we're going to try and create the robot around a center plate with custom drilled holes, so everything is super rigid and like doesn't flex and allows for better piloting. On the left here, I have libraries filled with parts from all the like building companies that we have. So structural parts, wheels, gears, motors, and also a whole bunch of iterations of designs from previous years. We use Fusion 360 because it allows us to collaborate better than other softwares, because our whole team can get in on the project and make changes to the design if they have to. So you want to go over to Tiger for the programming part?
Yep.
So let's see that. Are you going to put that back on your screen share, Arjun?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the presentation. There we go.
All right. Hello, I'm Tiger, head programmer for Team Vega, and for my section, I'm not going to get too much into the specifics of programming for FTC because it's a little too specific. Instead, I'm going to take some time to show how programming FTC really demonstrates how FIRST exemplifies the spirit of being a maker. Now, the main point of these maker fairs is to show off your work and to celebrate the creativity we all have, as well as to empower and inspire others to pursue their own craft. And in my opinion, one of the most important ways to empower others to make is to lower the barrier to entry into these fields. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with like cheap, affordable modules like Raspberry Pis or Arduinos. Just like those made programming electronics more approachable, FIRST's concept of cooperation makes this very daunting challenge of programming a robot more approachable as well. So straight from FIRST's website, cooperation is founded on the concept and a philosophy that teams can and should help and cooperate with each other, even as they compete. And cooperation means competing always, but assisting and enabling others when you can. And one major way this is reflected, next slide, Arjun, is in the open source culture that very much exists in FTC. People make their code available for others to dissect and learn from, even like world championship teams. They release their code the year after. And the innovators who write custom libraries readily release them to the community, which means like, I mean, at least off the top of my head, there's very little proprietary software that's kept like behind closed doors and only certain teams can benefit from them. This means that you don't have to be a genius or know like matrix calculus or read 30 books on robotics algorithms to put your best foot forward. You can pick up these pre-made modules and you can, for example, integrate image processing on the right onto your robot using a module called OpenCV, or receive your robot's telemetry or like information about the robot in real time in the form of graphs with Acme Robotics FTC dashboard module. And there are a lot more examples of great resources and more being made every single year. Their barrier to entry is essentially just having a working knowledge of Java and a willingness to learn. And combined with the various Discord servers and online forums where you can get help, FTC is a great place not just to have a developed programmer make a robot, but also for someone who's a little bit new to start exploring their passion for programming and really start to hone the craft. All right.
Just kind of piggybacking off that, actually, FIRST doesn't even just keep their libraries and everything accessible for programmers. This applies to almost every field. So finding parts for CAD, like Laszlo showed, or finding resources to make your engineering notebook stronger and looking at other teams' engineering notebooks, or even finding software that will help you emulate how your robot will run that works with FIRST and Autodesk, all exist out there to help make this a frictionless experience for you to get into. So now on to Ara, who will explain engineering notebook.
Hello, I'm Ara. The main part of FIRST is focused on the robot. However, for most of the judging and most of everything that happens throughout the season, there's an engineering notebook, which is just as crucial and just as important. So the engineering notebook is used to document everything that happens throughout the season. And it's also used as a reference for the team to reflect on what they're doing for self-improvement. So that is done throughout logs, throughout goals and reflection categories, where you can see what you did wrong and you can improve that in the future. And it is also used at competitions to give judges a reference of what a team has done throughout the season. And everyone contributes to the engineering notebook. So you have builders, doing sketches, doing designs. You have programmers doing their own logs, doing annotated code sections. You have outreach, taking pictures and putting them into the EN. So, you can explain to the judges that you've been to such great outreach events. It also has every detail from adding on little screws to our team members' favorite animal through team bios. And the engineering notebook really encapsulates like the whole entire team season to its best ability. And the main goal of the engineering notebook is that another team should be able to read your engineering notebook and recreate your entire season, meaning that not one idea is left behind, that you have the entire process from your first prelim sketch to all the way to your CAD models that are documented, and which is, I think, encapsulates what FIRST is about, that it's from starting from just a blank piece of paper and going to a full completed engineering notebook.
Great, thank you. All right, so now we have any questions from the audience? Let's see. Oh, where can I see if there are questions?
There aren't any.
Oh, there aren't any. All right. Yeah, so that's all we have as Team Vega 7407. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present. And
There's one question actually.
oh, there is? Okay, all right.
So Isaac is asking, why would you choose Mechanum versus the Omni Drive? So would Laszlo or Tiger like to answer that?
Yeah, so for the previous year's competition, there were some parts where we might have to drive over like certain bumps and stuff. Like the field wasn't completely flat. So using Mechanum is better than having a H drive with things in the middle to interfere with obstacles on the course. And I think that's why we chose it.
I think like also like it was just a simplicity reason, because instead of working out how to center the H drive wheel and how to locate the center of gravity and all that, you could just have 4 motors. We had enough motors to be able to afford that, and we had the ability to reposition sideways for convenience of placing things down on the foundation. So it was just convenient for us, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's it for us. Thank you for the
Well,
opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So hopefully now we can have Rolling Thunder take over the presentation, the screen share.
Absolutely. Just give me a second here.
I think I've lost a couple of years.
All right, so I can start off by introducing our team. So we are First Robotics Team 1511, Rolling Thunder, and my name's Nicole. I'm a junior, and I was the hang lead for this past season. So I helped design that mechanism and build it, and I was also on pit crew for competitions, and I'm this year's team captain.
Hi, my name is Isaac. This year, I'm the sub-team coordinator, and last year, I was the primary base driver and helped lead the group that wired the robot.
And my name is Mr. Weisbrod. I'm the lead teacher and co-coach for 1511 at Penfield High School.
My name is Larry Lewis. I'm the lead mentor for 1511. I've been in first for 16 years. And when I'm not doing first stuff, I'm a systems engineer at Viewpoint Systems.
All right, so a little bit more about our team. So we are from Penfield High School, and we were founded in 2004 and have competed in 16 seasons. This past year, we had 40 students on the team with 25 mentors, and we build FIRST Robotics competition robots. So those are bigger than the FTC ones, just the next level up in FIRST. We're very well known for our camo, our red, white, and black camo for our school colors, and lightning bolt because we're Rolling Thunder. And there's our website for anyone else who wants to know.
So a quick overview of the FIRST is it's a non-for-profit charity that helps design programs to motivate younger people pursuing education and career opportunities in STEM. This helps build self-confidence, knowledge, and life skills. FIRST vision is to transform culture by inspiring younger people and their schools and communities to appreciate science and technology.
All right, so when our season starts off, we get a new game that we have to design a robot for. Our robots have a certain objective that they need to complete in order to gain points, and the most points per team of robots wins the match. So we get our games, and within 6 weeks, we have to design and build and program and test our robot. And our robots are pretty big. They can be 125 pounds and can reach up to 6 feet tall. So we get the game. What do we do from there? We analyze the game and challenge. So see what gets us points, what descores us points, and then we come up with strategies and robot functions that could go with those, the game and all the points that we can get. Then from all the functions, we prioritize them in a list and say, we want to do this. We want to make sure that we do this, but we should also be able to do that. And then from there, we smash all that together, try to figure out what we can fit on one robot, and we prototype. So we prototype everything before we build it in real life. And in addition to prototyping, we also test it out in CAD. So that's our detailed design. Then after that, we build it, test it, put it all on the robot, and repeat that process many times if something doesn't work. So we also do a lot of prototyping, as I mentioned. Over on the right, you can see this is part of our robot for this year that you can actually see in a couple minutes. So yeah, prototyping can be pretty basic. You see we got some nice little duct tape and zip ties. We also use our 3D printer to quickly make parts and iterate them as needed because it's really quick.
After we prototype, we design our parts in CAD. CAD's been mentioned multiple times. We specifically like Autodesk Inventor. Typically, we build these in CAD and then adjust our CAD depending on prototypes. And we have a system for tracking all the parts and revisions just because it gets really chaotic when you have multiple prototypes that have ended up in different places. Building a robot in CAD gives us a final idea of what the robot will look like and any places where there's going to be issues or physical problems. This year, our game was called Infinite Recharge. Specifically this year, our robot was supposed to shoot power cells into a goal. This is how we gained points. We wanted to consistently climb every match and manipulate the control panel quickly and accurately. Our biggest goal was quick cycle times. So we had a lot of maneuverability and things that we wanted as a strategy team that then transferred into the mechanical part where we could have to modify the drive base or speed up the shooter. On terms of our drive base, it was powered by 4 motors. We used the Neos this year. We have a 6-wheel drive base. We use Omnis on our corners as well for higher maneuverability, but 2 rubber traction wheels in the center for higher acceleration. We, as a team, prefer the hybrid geared and belted drive. The gearing helps us modify the ratios to gain a higher top speed, acceleration, or torque, depending on our obstacles in the field. The belts are lighter, which also gives us an advantage to put that weight somewhere else.
So now that we have the base of our robot figured out, we had to figure out what we're going to do with the balls. So we have a intake system which brings the balls towards the robot, and through a slot in our drive base, you can see we have a rubber roller that grips onto the balls, and then a row of 3D printed Mechanum wheels that guides it into a slot. And then that slot feeds into our helix, which is basically a swirly slide that holds up to 5 balls at a time and preps them to be launched from our shooter. So our shooter was on a 3D printed turret and had an adjustable hood, a 3D printed hood, to control the ball's trajectory. Something that was really important for this year was consistency. You can see there's an outer goal at the top, and then there's a smaller hole inside. We had to try and get balls inside the smaller hole for more points. So we wanted to make sure that our launching was consistent and that our trajectory was always up to speed. Our speed was up to speed. So we used a flywheel to make sure that that consistently happened and put enough weight on the ball to get it going.
Another way to score points was called the control panel. Our favorite name for it was the Wheel of Fortune, but in general, it was a color wheel that you had to spin either a certain number of times or to a certain color combination. We used a motor to spin 2 rubber wheels, and on top of our mechanism with the motor and wheels, we had a color sensor to stop this wheel when it saw the certain color combinations.
aspect of this year's game was to climb. So we have a hanging mechanism that is 2 3-staged telescoping arms that were on the center line of our robot. They were controlled by constant force springs between each of the stages. So when the constant force springs were all coiled up, the arms were fully extended, and then there was cables inside each of the arms that would expand the constant force springs and bring the telescoping arms back down. We also had, at the top, we had a self-leveling bar that allowed us to climb when the bar was crooked because it swayed side to side, sort of like a coat hanger. And we also had 3D printed hooks that we custom designed to make sure that we could hang on the bar easily, lining up was easy, and we could stay on the bar if we started swinging. So that was a really important part of this game.
So in the first 15 seconds of a match, there is pre-programmed gameplay. We call this autonomous. This is similar in FTC as well. We used encoders to determine the distance traveled and a gyroscope to determine the angle of the robot, which allowed us to program in turning and driving. We also had a camera system to allow us to aim the robot towards the goal because it had reflective tape on it. It found the reflective tape, and then it would shoot 3 power cells and back off of an initiation line, which gave us points. After the autonomous section, we used our controls. The drivers step off the line and they grab their Xbox controllers. Other teams don't have to use Xbox controllers, but we do. We have one that controls the drive base and one that controls the auxiliary mechanisms, like the Wheel of Fortune or the shooter. We have a specific sensor input panel on the right side of the controls that are broken switches. So if a sensor isn't working right, we can just take the sensor out of the code so that we can bypass that part and manually shoot or intake power cells. This year, we based our controls off of the Death Star, but in past years, we do other themes based off of different games.
We've talked a lot about what we do robot-wise, but FIRST has a good saying of, we do more than just robots, and that's very true even within our team. So for people who aren't interested in robots, or maybe are interested in robots and something else, we have media and marketing sub-teams, which focus on our team image and press releases and spreading FIRST and our message throughout the community. We have an outreach sub-team, which gets involved with volunteering also in our community, and we help collect things for local charities and work with other organizations to help them achieve their goals. We have a chairman's sub-team, which focuses on award submission for the Chairman's Award, which we won this past year. And we also have an advocacy group that focuses on spreading FIRST in government and getting FIRST bills and STEAM bills passed in legislature. So though we haven't been able to build our robots, we have been able to occupy our time. The robotics team never stops. So we've been using our 3D printers that we used when we were prototyping to 3D print NIH-reviewed face shields for local hospitals and essential workers. We've donated meals with local restaurants to hospitals. We've collected personal hygiene items and partnered with Bombas Socks to donate thousands of socks to a local homeless shelter. And in addition, created 1,000 STEM activity kits for an organization that works with students in the Rochester City School District. And we created a weekend robot series, which briefly teaches students STEM topics for when they were out of school in March. So that's all I have. If anyone has any questions, send them our way.
I don't see any questions, but one of the big questions, I know you guys is a big team. How many students do you have involved in your team?
Here.
Nicole, I think you cut out for a second.
40 students on our team.
And is any of that school class credit, or is it all after school and out of school?
After school and out of after school. It doesn't correlate with our tech classes, though we do have some. I also see a question about our hanging hooks, and we used PLA. We originally tried it with ABS, but we found that the way that we had designed them, it was strong enough to hold, and especially they had a pretty thick infill, so they were nice and sturdy. We didn't break a single one, so.
That looks like all the questions. We don't have any more. We're got another 5 minutes if anyone wants to add anything from any of the groups.
I think the only thing I'd like to add is that if you're interested in FIRST robotics, they have a website. So if you go to firstinspires.org, you can get more information on FIRST and the different levels of FIRST, see which program level is appropriate for you, and try it out. It's a lot of fun, and quite honestly, the students that participate in this get a lot out of this, and it really does change their life. And yeah, give it a try. It's really a lot of fun.
And I can also add to that too, having been a FLL coach for many years, and then also you know, working with 1511 for a while too. It can seem really daunting to kind of coach your own team. You can, you know, it's just a lot, you know, to worry about the project and the robots and all these other things that you might have, say, with an FLL team or something. If that's the case and you're thinking about it, just reach out to another team. You know, you can contact 1511, you can contact a team that's in your area. A lot of especially the high school teams really love to help the younger teams get started. They have a lot of resources a lot of times to help you get started. So, you know, I think that was always really it was a great help for me when I was an FLL coach too, to have contacts amongst other teams to help us out. So if it is something that anyone's thinking of doing, starting a team or anything like that, reach out. Even if you have an existing team and maybe it's struggling right now with you know, the seasons being the way they are and that sort of thing. Again, reach out to other teams. There's a lot of teams out there that would just love to help you and have a lot of the resources to do that.
There is a key component to FIRST called gracious professionalism, where people learn to work well with other people, to take turns, to take roles and responsibilities, for other teams to work together. So I know that at the FRC competition, my robot would have been down and out a couple times if it wasn't for the Lockport Warlocks or the Electric Mayhem from Nichols, who's mentored us to become a better team. Is one of the great things about the whole FIRST organization. So I'm starting my elementary school with junior FLL, where they just make little Lego projects. I'm still continuing my FLL team for my middle school. And then we continue our FTC for our high school class. And unfortunately, due to the cost, I'm out of FRC temporarily, but hopefully we will be back someday. So in general, guys, I want to thank you all for participating. I do appreciate taking time out of your day. Do appreciate being part of the Empire State Maker Faire. And I want to thank you all for coming and being so well prepared. And hopefully we're going to see each other at competition sometime soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.